Hello and welcome to this edition of ABQ Business Review. I'm your host, Tony DellaFlora. Innovate Albuquerque, a multi-partner effort to attract and nurture entrepreneurs, has garnered plenty of publicity the last couple of years. With me today to discuss the program and the latest developments in the program is the city's economic development guru, Gary Oppedahl. Gary, thank you for taking time out of, I know, what is a very busy schedule.
It's good to be with you, Tony.
Yeah. For those folks who've been, living under rocks the last couple of years, explain a little bit about what Innovate Albuquerque is.
Sure. So Innovate Albuquerque is the 7.2 acre old First Baptist site at Central and Broadway, technically. But what Innovate Albuquerque is more is an idea, a vision started by Dr. Frank over at University of New Mexico. He was involved with Innovation Square in Gainesville at Florida State University, and he saw what that did for the community and for the economic trajectory, and so he decided we should do something like that here. We looked at several different sites, and we figured out that downtown would be the best part for that, the best place for that site,
right.
And to put an innovation district around it, which is really important,
right.
Called Innovation Central.
Right. Okay. Well, what is from an economic development standpoint, what is the ultimate goal of Innovate Albuquerque and this district?
Well, when the mayor let me come on board and help out the city, he said, let's make this the most entrepreneurial city in the country. And no small task, but one that I believe we have all the assets for. We have all the assets we need. It's about awareness, coordination, distribution, and flow. And one of the things that we're doing is saying, let's make an innovation district where entrepreneurs can be fed, where ideas can be surrounded by the hipsters, hackers, and hucksters that it takes to form a business, and make sure that they're all in one place so that all those things can be together like a beehive of collisions and connectedness and communicating and collaborating all in one place. And what Innovate Albuquerque represents is a fantastic collaboration between what Dr. Frank's vision, with the mayor's vision, with the private sector, and Terry Loddick stepped up in a big way from Nusenda, and those three are the centerpieces for what this represents. But we've got the county and now other philanthropies on board and saying, how can we collaborate to grow our own businesses here?
Right. Well, and I want to talk about that because, we've talked about this in other contexts, but people think of economic development by government as typically, let's attract an established company that's going to bring some jobs, hopefully high paying, we'll give them some tax incentives, some breaks here and there. That's the way business has been done for years with municipal and state governments. Why is it important to create this atmosphere of fostering entrepreneurism?
Economic development, you're right, used to be all about just attracting a Fortune 500 company to your community. And I believe in that. And it's not or, but it's and. But the business development part of our strategy is to not only attract businesses here, but support our existing businesses and also grow new ones. Someone the other day said, when are you going to get our next Fortune 500 company to move here? And I said, you know what? I think the odds are we'll grow our own first. And that's the key, because we have amazing ideas here. We have amazing cultural aspects and environmental aspects that really help people think big. I mean, the computer was invented here. I mean, we have a great legacy of amazing inventions and ideas that are very commercial, and we need to take those ideas and cause firm formation. We need to make companies out of them and create jobs.
Okay. Obviously you're working in it seems like a few steps ahead of what's going on in the rest of the state here and stuff. I mean, we see news every day about the numbers being down for employment and that kind of thing. How important is it that you have all this backing now that you put this team together to make this happen? Because obviously people have thought about doing something like this, but nobody's ever really got this far as I know.
Well, the point though is to involve the whole community. I think one of the things that the community is hopefully reacting to is that we're not here to control any behavior, right? My old teenager rule is the more you try to control behavior, the more bad behavior you get. We're just supporting the good things that are going on.
Right.
And we need the community to believe in itself and be that collaborative, connected, communicating community that believes in itself to create jobs and economic mobility. Because if it's up to Mayor and I and those of us in this building, we won't be able to do enough. We'd be a bottleneck. You know, number two, we need the community to believe in itself to do it and not just wait for the next big Tesla or Sandia contract or Intel. And number three, this needs to go far beyond what Mayor's second term is, because he's not going to run again. So if we want this to be a long-term effort, we need the whole community behind us, and that's the key.
Okay. Just briefly, I want to get into the master plan here, but what other components are part of this Innovate Albuquerque thing? Educational, describe a little bit what you see this thing as it's built, when it's built out.
The overall ecosystem, it consists of the 5 strategies, which will lead to job creation and economic mobility, and that is business development, workforce and talent development, community development, a culture of entrepreneurship development, and capital development. We all need money to make these things grow.
Right.
So each one of those has 3 subcategories, but when you're asking about what's going on with Innovate Albuquerque and the surrounding area called Innovation Central, which eventually will expand into the entire region and even the state, we're putting some infrastructure in place to make sure that it's easy to do business, including redoing all of our basic zoning to make sure it's easier for business to do business here, including putting in high bandwidth fiber along Central, including what we call the Albuquerque Rapid Transit to make sure that it's easy to connect and get around the very valuable assets we have. But if you think about it, if we put the ART together, which is going to go from 98th to Tramway, and then we have the rail runner, which is connecting us and Santa Fe and those areas, we're right at the center point is where Innovate Albuquerque is of those 2 systems, so that we can get people to and from that, because connectedness is the big deal. We want to attract millennials and the next job creators. And what millennials demand, as I go around the country and talk to them, are diversity. We're already a majority state, right?
We're doing pretty good in that.
We're doing very well in that. They demand easy get around, so they want bikeable, walkable, good, clean transit cities. And quite frankly, they don't want to buy 4-bedroom houses in the suburbs anymore. They want a loft downtown. So that's why you're seeing us create more of a 24/7 livable area downtown.
Well, the main site is for Innovate Albuquerque is Central and Broadway right now, and that again is what you're hoping is kind of be the nexus of this entrepreneurial corridor. You had mentioned to me previously that the regents at UNM had just like within the last week approved a master plan for the whole area. Let's talk about that a little bit.
They call it a framework. And what the framework is, and UNM hired the best group in the world to do this, Perkins and Will, and they've done it at Florida, at Skysong in Arizona, at Cambridge and MIT, even in Qatar. So they're worldwide experts in creating these innovation districts. And so they came up with a framework, which is a really great way to think about it, a vision for what this whole area can become as kind of the epicenter for entrepreneurial activities. And that's the key. And the regions through the Innovate Albuquerque board have commissioned Perkins and Will to come up with that framework, and they completed and presented that framework both to the Innovate Albuquerque board, to the mayor's office, and to the regents just in the last couple of weeks. And it met with very wide approval because it incorporates all the things that make us unique and yet are going to take us forward and change the economic trajectory of our city.
Okay, what is the most exciting thing about what you saw in the master plan for you?
You know, what I really liked is the way that they incorporated the things, like I said, that make us unique. So at the corner there at Broadway and Central is the old sanctuary, right, which we intend to, make into Church of Entrepreneurship. And what they did was they incorporated that into the framework and actually took that architecture and kind of moved it into a larger building in the phase one, the development of that quarter of the place. They made sure that the right things were there to take the research, the billions of dollars of research that's being done in Albuquerque every year, and make sure that we have a place that can commercialize that research.
Even now, it sits sort of in the center of a whole cluster of things that are going to be part of this program.
So we have right across the street Fat Pipe, which Stu Rose and Lisa Atkins have turned into a really cool incubator, and that's where we do our 1 million cups every Wednesday, 9 a.m. We highlight 2 Albuquerque companies and talk about what makes them great, and then the community asks the question, wow, that's great, how can we help? And great connections are being made there every Wednesday. And then we've got Verge just to the north in ABQ ID and entrepreneurial office hours every Wednesday afternoon from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. where anybody can come in and say, hey, I've got an idea, or I've got an existing business, or we try to help out all 4 types of entrepreneurs: the micro business, which is the solopreneur; the main streeters, which is the 2 to 25, barbershop, restaurant, retail type of place that has a storefront; the second stagers, the people who have taken their goods and services and figured out how to go regional, national, international; and the high growth. And the high growth includes high tech, but there's other high growth things like Airbnb and Lyft and Uber that are not high tech, they're just high growth. So all 4 types and trying to help them. So while we were trying to acquire the space, we started those other activities just to start getting the community involved and connected.
Right. And I think this is probably the point. I just wanted to interject because I think this is an important thing. People probably think, oh, it's high tech, this and that, it's going to be computers, it's going to be app, whatever. That's not all that you guys are promoting here.
As a matter of fact, the point is that the street sweeper with a better idea for a broom, or the construction worker with a better idea for a nail gun guard, all can come there with their ideas. And the folks from UNM, researchers in San Diego National Labs, AFRL, all those assets also. But it's really about bringing the ideas together no matter where they come from. A lot of people don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs. And remember that number 4 of the strategies is a culture of entrepreneurship development.
Right.
And the mayor, in his State of the City, announced that we're sending 100 city employees through a culture of entrepreneur mindset training, basically. And that comes out of Kaufman, which we have a very good partnership with, and one of the many philanthropies that are helping us do economic development. But that CNM sent 5 people, instructors, train the trainer, to come back. And now they have, I think it's 3 classes ongoing right now where we're mixing people from the city with other people from other organizations, banks, and local businesses to think entrepreneurially. Because that's the thing. I love it when an artist comes in to entrepreneurial offices and say, well, I just make jewelry, I'm not really an entrepreneur. Artists are by definition entrepreneurs. They put their stuff out in public, they get publicly criticized, they get knocked down, they get back up, they do it again, they're constantly looking for customer feedback. They're by definition entrepreneurs. And so I think that what we need to do is change the language from entrepreneurs or people who run around in their own private jet plane, starting up businesses every other day, to people who literally are just going to take action. That's what the French entrepreneur comes from, the French, meaning take action. That's all it is. It's somebody who sees status quo and says, you know what, not satisfied with that. I need to find a way through innovation and creativity to improve that situation. And that's what entrepreneurs do. And so anybody is an entrepreneur who has an idea and a way to improve things. We want to support all of those things.
Okay. I'm sure one of the questions a lot of viewers have is, okay, where's all the money for this come from? This is truly a private public partnership.
It is.
That's, at least it's intended that way.
That's
so explain what funding you've accumulated and what for, and then how you see this build out going and where the rest of that money comes from.
The mayor very much appreciates this approach and is helping with resources for this in several ways. And by the way, so is the City Council. The City Council is also is behind this and putting in resources. But the mayor put in some of his own budget into this, and he has on the 11th floor brought in some people who are going out to the philanthropies. Robin Brule is one of the most incredible system integrators I've ever seen, who's going out to folks like Living Cities and Kauffman and Code for America and Village Capital and AmeriCorps, and bringing all those philanthropies in with all those resources to help us do this. Because we don't have a whole lot of money, we don't have all the resources in the world in Albuquerque, but we're getting national attention from these philanthropies and getting outside of the state resources to help us do all this.
So, but once you've got the basic infrastructure started and stuff, you're expecting private investment to come flowing in here, is that?
Absolutely, because what we do is we're a catalyst, right? What we do is we get things started. But what's going to happen is all of the private sector that is either on the sidelines because they don't see much, didn't used to see much going on, or can benefit themselves by supporting it, are starting to come off the sidelines. And we're already seeing that happen. But you know, that will be a flywheel that we continuously push on, and that will, as jobs are created and economic mobility is created, those resources will be able to come in and help keep that flywheel going.
Yeah, but essentially you want to make this a place that people will want to come and spend money and develop things.
If you haven't seen Simon Sinek's TED Talk called "What Is Your Why?" I highly recommend that 20 minutes of your time. But one of the things he says is you have to know why you're doing things, and people need to know why you're doing things. And my why is that my grandkids are going to be able to live, work, prosper, and create here in whatever way they deem success, and even more, go tell all their friends around the country or around the world, you got to be here. This is the place to be. So my oldest grandson's 12, so you know the goal is within 10 years we want this all to happen, and so we have to put the things in place during this 4-year second term of the mayor that will continue and make that happen long term.
Okay, you had mentioned it's reflected I think in the master plan that we looked at. There's Perkins and Will have been involved with similar projects like this in other parts of the country, and you said they played on some of the unique aspects of what's going on in Albuquerque. What are some of those unique aspects?
Albuquerque has, what I like to, when people come off the plane and they come here, like I was just talking to the consul of Germany who was here recently, and I always ask people, what's the thing you notice when you get off the plane, right? And I think it comes down to, and I alliterate a lot so I can remember things, I'm old. I think it comes down to air, arts, and access. If you think about it, we've got big skies and clean air and a great place to think up big ideas. The arts and culture is something that's so unique. It's embedded in all of us here, and it gives us a little bit of right brain and innovation that a lot of people don't have, and engineers that go to other places miss out on. We're surrounded and enriched by our arts culture here, and you know, the last is access. You know, when people come here and they talk to me, or when I go and talk to people elsewhere, I tell them that I can introduce them to everybody they need to know in Albuquerque or New Mexico in 2-3 weeks, right? Because we're accessible here. We all know each other. You know, in some places it's 6 degrees of separation. Here it's a half. And so I think those are the things that make us unique. But I would add our environment. You know, a lot of us think, well, lots of sunny days, you know, good weather. But I will tell you that it's more than that. We do not have hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, and earthquakes.
Not yet.
and we won't because of where we're situated inland. So we need to be a place where headquarters come, where back office operations are done. Any company that wants to have a 24/7 operation ought to be here because we don't. Our airport doesn't shut down. People can get to work every day, and that's why, for instance, Canon just came here with their call centers because of Hurricane Sandy in New Jersey, which shut them down for 12 business days. It's a big deal. And what they found here is our unique workforce. And I would put our workforce up against anyone's. We're familial. We go out for a beer and bowling after work instead of scattering to our own living rooms. And we're loyal. You know, one of the things, I started up a company in Silicon Valley after one of our successful companies here. And I will tell you that in Silicon Valley, if I put out a job rec for an engineer, I'm going to get 20, 30 resumes, you know, by the end of the day or tomorrow. But as soon as that person is through orientation, she's out looking for another job. I mean, there's a constant churn that you don't see here. We have loyal, committed workforce that surpasses anywhere else. So those are a few of the unique things we have.
Okay. Well, just to a little further in that, I noticed one of the things in the plan, one of the important things they seem to emphasize was the need for innovators and attractors, which I think is a little bit what you're talking about. But how does that, how does that mix work together? Why are those two things particularly important?
Sure. What you need is people from both ends of the spectrum who kind of want the been there, done that's. The people who are into their second careers, who are choosing Albuquerque and its lifestyle. I was just in Taos last night talking to the Taos Entrepreneurial Network and encouraging them that, we need to find people who love New Mexico and bring them here. And if you've got somebody who's, in their 50s or 60s, which is the new 30s, thank goodness, just when I got there, that have money, who've come from a career in pharmacy or something else and want to get out of the rat race and come to a place where you can actually live and work and play and be real, they can bring those resources here and start up another company or invest in another company or bring their unique talents to another company. And then on the other end, we need those millennials. We need those next wave of job creators to come here. And that's what we're making all of our downtown and innovation district efforts for. So we need to get both of those kinds of folks here to help with the job creation and economic mobility.
Okay. Just to wrap up the master plan part, what is the timeline for the build out of, I know there's a couple different scenarios, but what are we looking at? You had mentioned before that the mayor's not going to be around to see this fulfilled probably. So
not all of it. We hope to see much of it. I think that the framework that they put together is so good that they will attract developers to that to that development in short order. I suspect that we will have developers that are involved hopefully by the end of this year, and who can start on phase one. This will be a phased project, obviously, and who knows how long the phases will actually go, but they've defined 4 pretty distinct phases, and I expect that phase 1 and phase 2 will get started in the next few years. But in the meantime, we've got the epicenter there to help with that, with involving the community in that. I mean, Mayor was brilliant in involving the community in the rail yards by opening up the blacksmith shop, first as a way to get the community involved. Well, it's the same analogy for the epicenter. We've got that first building there on Innovate Albuquerque. So while the master plan is being implemented and the new buildings are built on that site, we've got our first entrepreneurial community center there now, and we'll have some great activities in there that the community can start seeing.
And for folks who don't know where that is, we're talking about the old Noonday Ministry building.
That's right. That's where we used to feed the homeless every day. Myself, I was there every Tuesday for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And they've got a nice new shiny building and a new kitchen out at Manal and 2nd. And it's a wonderful place. But now we're using that building because it was ready to go, basically, to be the first building involved with Innovate Albuquerque.
And it's going to open in April, right?
Yes, April 24th is the planned ribbon cutting. The first major event you'll see in there is a great DigiCamps. I told you about one of the 5 strategies. Strategy number 2 is workforce talent development. Right. We know we need to get our kids involved in STEM education. Right. We've partnered with Microsoft, who has a great thing called DigiCamps, so DigiGirls and DigiBoys, DigiDudes, that they take up to 100 students at a time and put them through a 1-day course where at the end of the day, they're programming games instead of just playing them. Right. And we're doing that we're targeting 7th and 8th graders. My wife's a former teacher, and she'll say, she says that's where we lose them. And we're going to get those kids interested in STEM so that they can then go on and have a new motivation to finish high school and go into programming or into engineering or into some of the very necessary jobs that we have here.
So this is workforce development down to the nitty gritty here, we're getting them started at a very early age here.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, in workforce development, I think we do a great job of here in Albuquerque, and we're constantly improving. But if you take our workforce, which is already a great workforce, and then you add in the best community college in the world, CNM, and the things that they're doing with coder school and certificates and things to get people into positions that we really need here. And then you start looking at K through 12 and saying, what can we do to help APS produce the kind of students that we need going forward? It's all, again, it's and, not or, right? We've got the assets we need and the resources we need. We just need to apply them creatively.
Now, this epicenter, in addition to the workforce development, is also, I think you mentioned, is going to be kind of a center for commercializing technology.
Absolutely. We are going to attempt to take those ideas that are already being generated at UNM, through the Innovation Academy, through Sandia National Labs, through C3, and through some new initiatives out at AFRL, and make sure that we get those researchers surrounded by the entrepreneurs, the hipsters, hacker, and hucksters that we need to form companies. And that's part of the work of Innovate Albuquerque.
Okay. And again, as we emphasized before, this is, you don't have to know anything about computers to be an entrepreneur or to start a new company. It can be pretty much anyone at any level of the workforce is invited to come and play here.
You need all kinds of different, I've said, you know, hipster, hacker, and huckster a couple times now, but if you think about new company formations, you need an idea, that's called ideation, then you need implementation, and then you need customer acquisition. And so the ideation is the hipster, the implementers are the hackers, and the marketing and sales folks, customer acquisition, is the hucksters. And so we need all of those people there, not just people with PhDs in engineering. We need the people who can get people excited, customers excited about the products. We need people who can just go out and say, hey, do you think this is a great idea? All those people are necessary in company formation, so everyone is welcome. Makerspaces are things that are being utilized around the country right now to help people take their idea and make it into reality. So if you notice on your iPhone when someone swipes your credit card, that little thing was first invented in a makerspace. And so we will have makerspaces, 3D printers and laser cutters and those types of things in Innovate Albuquerque. We've already brought some of that stuff downtown through CNM's makerspace in collaboration with Intel. But we already have some great makerspaces around town where you can go and get a bandsaw and a piece of metal and start, you know, or a piece of plastic and start making things into reality so that you can show, because people like to see something and go, hey, okay, now I can visualize this now that I can see it. And so makerspaces are a big part of company formation. Yeah,
and that's going to be there when you open, when Epicenter opens?
So again, there's already maker spaces in Albuquerque, and there's a big maker movement. Mayor is one of the, we're a maker city because of Mayor's commitment through a White House initiative on being a maker. And we've had a couple of maker fairs out at the, last one was out at the Balloon Fiesta Park last year. It was a fantastic event. And so we're going to continue those and do more of that in a concentrated way in the Innovation District we call Innovation Central. But eventually, you know, we want to have maker spaces all around the city. And some of them might be sewing machines, and others of them might be welding, and others might be, for different types
of we've just got about a minute or so to go, but what's the next step now? Where are we in the process, and what are we going to be seeing rolled out in the next few months?
You know, again, what we're looking for is a community that believes in itself for job creation and economic mobility, and that is connected, communicating, and collaborating toward that end. And that's the biggest thing that we're going for. I think that if we accomplish that, then we've really done well. And so all the activities that we're doing are meant to connect us all together. Like I said, you know, when you have somebody presenting on a new line of clothes for toddlers, and then someone in the audience goes, hey, my mom is a buyer for Baby Gap, and that connection is made, that's how things get created. Downtown, we got Lavu to move downtown, and we got CNM to move downtown with their coder school. Those folks, because they now saw each other across the street, had a hackathon, which has produced not one, not two, but according to Andy Lim, 3 companies now of new companies between the coders and the people at Lavu that are bolt-on to Lavu products. That's the kind of thing that's going to continue happening, and that's the dream and the vision.
Well, Gary, we're out of time, unfortunately. I know we could talk another hour about
could.
this, but thanks for being here today. And you know, we'll make this a regular thing. We'll check back in another 3 months. Who knows what'll be going on down there at that point. But
many new things.
Yeah, but thanks again for joining us today. And thank you for joining us today on ABQ Business Review, and we'll see you next time.